Hello and welcome everybody to the latest episode of N1 from the End Zone with your favorite host, King N.P.V. You know that's me, baby. And today we have an action-packed episode where we're going to actually be watching an interview with Jerry Jones, Stephen A. Smith, basically talking about the documentary that he did with Netflix, talking about the Micah Parsons situation. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the Netflix's America's Team the gambler and his cowboys, right? I think that's what it's called. But I'll give you my thoughts on it. I watched the entire thing. It was a great series, but I'll give you more on that later. We're also going to be talking about ESPN dropping the Colin Kaepernick docu-series, and we're also going to be talking about the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation and some of my preseason takeaways. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it.
You're watching the latest episode of N1 from the End Zone. Please click on that subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content rocks. Now, let's kick it.
Hello, and we are back, ladies and gentlemen. So we are actually just going to dive right into this video, well, not this video, this episode of the Stephen A. Smith show with the notorious Stephen A. Smith, where he basically talks about the Dallas Cowboys, and not the Dallas Cowboys, but he sits down with Jerry Jones, talks about the Netflix docu-series, and we also get the inside scoop on what is going on with Micah Parsons. So let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen.
This Netflix.
There we go.
Series America's team, the Gambling Cowboys. Why now?
Well, it was suggested to me by the people at Skydance.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it, and they were interested in seeing if Netflix, or if you will, ESPN, would be interested in doing it. And then I thought about really all the people that were involved in this. And I said, well, if I can do it and spend the time on it, I really want to do it. The big thing is that I just didn't realize how much of it was back there. And it really did, the process going through it. I spent a lot of time on it. But it surprised me. I got emotional. And some things that I get into that were involved in my past relative to buying the Cowboys.
Like what?
I can, and I'll get to it, but I can be in a public speaking situation, or I certainly can be in a room or a one-on-one situation. And man, I'll start talking about that stuff, and I will profusely start tearing up and crying. Well, the things that we covered, especially in those early years, I guess the main thing was that early in my life, I had really gotten in financial trouble, and I just couldn't pay. And I still knew how to go borrow, but I couldn't pay. It hurt, boy. It really hurt. I was ashamed. I was ashamed with my family. I was ashamed with my friends. Gosh, I'd gotten a chance to play college football and be involved with the Razorbacks, and I was so proud. And boy, my early financial stuff took me down, down, down. And Jean had to really, as I mentioned, she had to one time call her dad, was worried about me hurting myself, what have you. But they'd grab her purse and pull credit cards out and take them right as we were sometimes leaving out. I got in trouble. Well, not right after, but the few years that it took me to really get my feet on the ground and get some sense and understand that if you borrow, you got to pay it back, all that stuff. Right about that time, I had some good things happen, and it was principally in oil and gas. And I really had at a time when oil and gas was going south, I went up north. Mine was going up. And I ended up, really fortunately, to get ahead and have some resources after all that I'd been through. And that was when I was about 42 or 43. I turned right around, and the devil, called the Dallas Cowboys, showed up. And after going through all of that in my mind, I turned right around and did something stupider than I had done in those early years, and potentially got right back in the same spot. And I'm telling you, buying the Dallas Cowboys was the most significant risk that I'd ever been involved. And I was out over my skis. And that's covered in this documentary. And boy, I'm going to tell you something that really got me emotional watching some of that going through. And boy, here we were, and we were excited. It was a crazy dynamic. I couldn't wait to get up. But when you got up, you were almost getting assassinated for letting Coach Landry go. Or people were upset about how we had demeaned, if you will, the Dallas Cowboys.
It was Tom Landry. He was synonymous with the Cowboys. There was a parade for him. 100,000 people showed up to celebrate him. And so obviously you were proud of that particular.
And I didn't know if I could pay. We were losing $1 million a month, and I had bought part of the team from the government. It had been foreclosed on. And the control of the team was going to go to the courthouse steps. And so I used some smoke and mirrors and got in a position to get in a position, not pay for it, but get in a position. And so here we were. We turned around. I was so excited to get to be in the NFL. Boy, I get to smell that grass and get to be a part of sports, which I had always yearned to. But I didn't think about what the consequences would be. There's no doubt in my mind. My stuff with Jimmy Johnson, the coach, win those 2 Super Bowls.
Back-to-back Super Bowl titles.
Because in my mind, I had lost all tolerance. I had lost all patience. I had danced with the devil. That when that time hit, after winning 2 Super Bowls, unlike normal times when you would have said, we'll work through this and hell of a job, we'll get through this and all that, I was void of tolerance. I didn't want any shit. And so that had everything to do in my mind, from my perspective, of why we made a change. Well, this documentary starts touching on that stuff. And like I told you, I can almost get sad talking to you.
Are you concerned that this docu-series, America's team, the Gambling Cowboys, might very well expose the very thing that people complain about when it comes to you? As brilliant as you are, you're stubborn as hell because you've been there. and this is what you've done, and you're highlighting and crystallizing what you went through in order to get the Dallas Cowboys to be worth, according to the latest reports, $12.8 billion, at least $2 billion more than any other, NFL franchise, and then some. Is it a concern of yours at all that this very series we're talking about on Netflix right now will reveal, hey, Jerry's got some good points, but this is also the very thing that gets in his way?
You know how much I appreciate interest, being relevant.
Yes.
And I know you know that.
Yes, I do.
And you're you in your own way, or maybe a case for old Jerry when sometimes you're as critical as you are. Yeah. But relative to, I'm going to go all the way back. Sure. Now, this isn't the kind of stuff that serving in the service, or it's kind of stuff that so many Americans, so many people go through, losing loved ones and what have you. But my experience in college, I had to really call on it to play. I thought it hurt me worse than the rest of them. My trainer used to say, Jones, you got the lowest tolerance for pain of any kid we've ever had at this school. Mm-hmm. But I had to call on it to be a part of that football, but I loved it, boy.
Okay.
I loved it. There's no question that going through that and then ultimately having some success when I was a senior conditioned me for getting your ass kicked. There's no question it did. In school, we would have 20 teams out there of players, that many players, as much as 200 players at that time. And sometimes I'd walk out there on the depth chart, and Arkansas Razorbacks are a red team. My jersey that day would be powder blue. Now, you're down the road when you're a powder blue on a red team. You should know that right now. Well, you still had to go out there and go do it. You had to get with it. Well, candidly, it's that part of football that for some crazy reason is attractive, is the struggle, the going against the grain. There's no doubt my family upbringing prepared me for a lot of the things I've dealt with the Cowboys. But certainly football, the competition did. And certainly when we got here in Dallas and bought the Dallas Cowboys, right at the time that I bought the team, within a year, I had 3 $1 billion lawsuits filed against me. One from PG&E in California, one from Arkansas's Public Service Commission, one from the big utility company over there. Right about the time you hit the day, there were articles about how I was a drug dealer, or articles about those kinds of things. The Fort Worth Star-Telegram ran a retraction in talking about how negative I was about my financial at the particular time. All of that was going on weekly, daily, and certainly there wasn't any love lost for us, love lost regarding how good a football team we had, because we won one football team. Mm-hmm. Now, Jimmy, man,
That's crazy. I didn't know any of that. He didn't put that in the documentary, to be completely honest with y'all. Because I watched the documentary, and he was literally, none of this was in the documentary. I'm surprised, Jerry. I'm surprised. What were you up to, sir?
When someone says to me right now that that's all Jerry thinks about is money, I had a little money when I was an idiot and had lost a lot of money. I got it back, and I gave it all, plus a lot I didn't have, to get to be a part of football. So being criticized a little bit, being hit on because we hadn't been to a Super Bowl or we haven't been to a playoff game in 30 years, okay? That type of stuff is important that I understand it, but it isn't diddly compared to some of the things that you've experienced and some of the things we've got to do. And I'm talking about how you take it, not how you look forward to doing something about it.
That's fair.
That's a long answer.
No. But it's worthy, and everything about it was substantive. But I would say to you, that's the kind of thing, dare I say, when I'm getting on Jerry Jones, that may very well get in your way. It's been 29 years. You're a 3-time Super Bowl champion. You understand? 3-time Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer. From a business perspective, universally recognized as probably the best this business has ever seen. But somehow, some way, it's 29 years that you haven't been to a conference championship game, you haven't been to a Super Bowl, you haven't won a Super Bowl championship. And because of what you just highlighted, how you can take it, the Cowboy fans are saying, well, damn it, we can't. It's hard to take. How do you respond to that?
Well, first of all, you've mentioned 2 things. You've mentioned what you do and say. I hope you think I don't really give a shit about what you say.
Yes.
Okay? I love to hear you say it, and I love to be in it.
I know.
But if you think that causes me to go right or left, I'm out here doing
Trust
something.
me, I know.
Okay, I just want to be straight with my buddy. Okay,
Absolutely.
with that right here. Now, I do want those fans to enjoy winning. I do. And we're the 6th winningest team in the last 20 years, not counting Super Bowls in the NFL.
Let me add this. By the way, more Pro Bowl, more first-team All-Pro players than anybody but the Ravens and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, since 1996. Let's get that out the way, too.
Yeah. One of the things I was trying to make the point earlier, I can hang my hat on that. That gives me a little bit of a base to step forward out here on Monday or Wednesday and go to work and go get it. I know that we've been where we had a chance to reach one of those Super Bowls. And I've been to Super Bowls. And I know we've had a chance to be there. We haven't. And boy, do I get it. I get it. And I know that half or more of these people that are out here looking, okay, are looking because they are not fans of the Cowboys or the situation or what we've got right here, okay? But I also know that that's what makes the game. That's what makes the game. And so it makes me want to show them That's exactly what I was feeling when I was trying to make the team on football when I was in college. That's what I've been trying to show them since in between college and the Cowboys. And since the day I walked through the door, that's what I've been doing, is trying to show them.
But they'll say that you haven't been successful in showing them in recent memory, Jerry. And you are accustomed to success. So if somebody is looking at Jerry Jones and they're listening to you articulate these thoughts and they recognize there's 3 Super Bowl championships, they recognize there was a back-to-back championship. Even when you let Jimmy Johnson go and you brought in Barry Switzer, you lost the next year but then came back, got Deion, and then recaptured the Super Bowl championship. We've seen what you've accomplished. And it seems that what you used to do, that used to work, not only isn't working, but hasn't worked for quite a long time. And it has folks wondering, Jerry, what defines success for Jerry Jones? Is it about the Super Bowls? Is it about the fact that the value of your franchise? What is it about? What do you say to that?
Well, that's very fair. First of all, that's very fair, okay? But it's also wrong what you just said, and that is I'm used to success. What I really am is used to getting my butt kicked.
Okay.
I've had some shots of success. By the way, if you really look at football, I don't care how you touch it coaching, touch it playing, touch it fans, touch it any way you want to. The percentage of elation, the percentage of total elation relative to time spent is one of the smallest percentages there is doing anything. Okay. It's hard to feel good playing football. It's hard to feel good because the competition is what it is out here, and that's certainly alive and well in the NFL. There is no question that I can get gas in my tank, get my butt kicked. There is no question that I can do that right there. And I will tell you right now, and I'll measure it against any other part of walks of life I have, okay? I do have some days when I'm smiling, and I do feel good about it. Do I, when things are not going good in one area, do I stick my head in the hole like an ostrich and lean a little on over here if something feels good? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And yes, when it's a bad time and a bad deal, I reach over and I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that. Think about mama, think about all of those things you do when you handle it not going the way you want to handle it. Now, I've got a lot of stuff that I can point to that have had a fleeting moment of success. But every time I go up there, I say, well, it didn't last long, and when it did, wasn't it for you to get it done? Now, that's my mental state, and that's how I work it. And there's no question that I deal with mostly. And by the way, do I kind of look at something that feels better and think about something that feels better every day when this one's burning a little bit and old Stephen A's wearing my butt out over here? I do. I do that. But don't confuse that in my mind with taking steps, doing what it takes. I just paid 2 guys last year. Made that the highest paid player in the history of football.
Yeah, we'll get into that. $60 million a year. We'll get into that.
Get into that.
Go ahead.
Okay.
And CeeDee Lamb, $136 million. Yeah, we'll get into that.
My point is, I don't have a locked up hand on signing a big check to make this team better. I'll do it. I will do it.
Okay.
And I'll take the risk to do it, and I have done it, and I'm doing it now, and I'll do it again.
Why haven't you done it with Micah Parsons yet?
Well,
Take your
let me
time.
say it just right.
Take your time.
I just was on a podcast with Michael for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I invited him to bring Micah and come in since he's got a lot of experience negotiating with me. Michael does. And then by that negotiation 30 years ago, we've remained real associates for 30 years.
Right.
I said, Michael, did you do your contract with an agent? No. No, but that was then. That's then. This is now. Okay? So I said, Michael, why don't you grab Micah? You're a big fan of his. Think a lot of him. And I do too. Why don't you get him in here? Be sure and pick up what I offered him. Be sure and pick that up when you come through the door on that deal right there. There's right now about 3 entities involved in the Micah Parsons deal that really count, and that's not to dismiss everything about the organization and the Cowboys.
What are the 3 entities?
Micah, me, sitting out there, and about a mile back is that agent. These are the 2 to get it done. Always has. And these are the 2 that be sitting there working it out when it hits the fan, when it's not between the lines on that contract. That's why I'm going to do it.
What exactly happened with you and Micah Parsons that has you in this position where you're so resolute in your stance right now? Exactly what happened?
First of all, I just asked Michael Irvin to grab Micah and come over and let's talk it over.
I agree.
Let's look at it.
I'm talking about what happened last March.
But I'm just saying, that's not resolute, and you have to take my word we did that. But here's my whole point, is that there is no question that we have negotiations, contrary to the agent's opinion that we're not negotiating. There's no question that we are, in the sense that he knows full well what I'll pay. Knows full well, okay, what we'll pay him. So there's no question that that's going. I'm very comfortable with that. Now let's look at the paperwork. I have Micah for 3 more years. I've got him under contract this year. I can franchise him the next year, and I can franchise him the next year. I have him 3 more years. Now, if you summed up what I'm going to pay him through what I'm going to pay him this year in those 2 years, it is much, much, much less. How about 60% of what I offered him? So I'm pointing out that there's a way that you look at it. What is this all about? What is this about?
That's what I'm getting to.
Stephen A., is that I'm going to say 12, 15% of the players in the NFL get 2/3 of the money. So that means that you've got to, when you start talking about these hundreds of millions of dollar commitments to a player, you've got to make sure you're right. One miss in that area makes up for paying 3 or 4 Pro Bowlers that are paid less than that out here. Those are critical things. That's why Dak Prescott's got all put together in the way that it did, with the deliberateness that it did. And that's why it took us 2 years of just these same circumstances to get to his contract. That's with Dak Prescott. That's been my experience.
I'm going to come at you with it like this, because you are my buddy. I'm unapologetic about that. That's right. You don't give a shit about what I have to say half the time. You're totally right. You're absolutely correct, okay? And I don't give a damn about throwing the criticism when I think it's warranted, but I love you. Here's the deal, Jerry. I've been on the record stating, here's where my discomfort lies. Jerry Jones has established himself as the creme de la creme, one of the elite businessmen in the history of sports. $12.8 billion is $12.8 billion. You're worth over $16 billion according to several publications, okay? Money is no longer your problem, Jerry, okay? All I'm thinking about is, you've been negotiating for decades. You've been negotiating before Micah Parsons was even conceived, was even thought about being conceived. That is a child compared to you at the negotiating table. So for somebody as accomplished as Jerry Jones to sit across from Micah Parsons and engage in any kind of negotiation, how does that make sense to anybody outside of yourself? Because we know he's a football player. You're a businessman. I would not sit across from you at the negotiating table. I would send my representative to sit across from Jerry Jones. I'm not going to try to negotiate with you. I don't have a prayer. What are you to expect from Micah Parsons in that regard?
What he's done as much negotiating as I've done, got there by simple miles, not winning awards, but by simple miles. You know the only way to get things done, there's no bargains. The only way to get things done is get to where you're going, where both parties can live with it. Okay. Both parties can live with it. That's the art. But I know that, and that does show. I'm the general manager of this team. I'm not the owner. I am the owner, but I'm the general manager. Have been since the day we opened. All contracts have been under my purview since we've been doing it, and the negotiations associated with it. Although I've got some great people. Number one, Stephen, who's as a chemical engineer, so he ought to know how to negotiate. My whole point is, I fully understand the difference in experience. Now let me add something to this. Micah Parsons is brilliant, really.
I'm not questioning his brilliance.
He's not only as an athlete, he actually is mentally. And he is very, very, very capable. The only one that I've ever seen that really matched him, and we'll put Michael in there because we did negotiate, was Charles Haley. Maybe one of the best money negotiators that I've ever been around, and there was a player to get it done. So it is very, very possible, because just like you have advisors, they have advisors. And Micah's got agent.
Yeah, David Mulligan to be exact.
And that agent is within a phone call of talking about any detail that was there, and was available with any detail that was there. We have agreed on how long this is going to be, and we've agreed on the amount of guarantees it's going to be.
You and Micah?
The package is the biggest ever paid a non-quarterback. That's where we are.
Right.
That's where we are.
But
because a third party, rather than me and Micah, has got to come in. Why? Because he's got to get his fingerprint on it?
Come on, Jerry.
Come on, please. He's got to get his fingerprint on it. All right? You tell me. I'm just telling you.
Right.
Okay?
I'm not challenging
you. He wasn't there. Well, I'm just telling you, though. I'm not challenging you either. But there's no need for him to come into this agreement except to look at all of the details of the agreement and all the fine print and all of that. But then he's got to sit here and say, well, is that something that Mike ought to live with? Or should he take playing under this year's contract and be franchised for 2 more years after that?
Jerry,
which one?
But Jerry, you told me, think about this. Let's backtrack. Last year we're talking, and you're talking about life and how beautiful life is. You know, having purview over the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, being a GM of the Dallas Cowboys, being around young folks, keeping you young. And there's so much stuff that youngsters don't get, and how the world has changed and how you've had to evolve with these changes. Micah Parsons is not 50. He's 25, 26 years old now. He wasn't around. So when you were doing things the way that you have always done it, he wasn't even born yet. He doesn't know. So he comes into this world now. He has representation. They're telling you this is how business is done these days. All of the other owners capitulate and adapt to that because they recognize these kids are not what they used to be. It's changed now.
Can I interrupt you a second?
Please.
You're not talking to the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. You're talking to the general manager of the Cowboys. And so all these teams, owners, may not be involved. But in this case, I am the general manager. My job is to do the contract. My job is to sit down. What is at issue here, Steve? What's at issue is not whether I should be negotiating the contract. The issue is who I negotiated with. I'm standard. I'm operating in my shoes here. I'm the general manager and have been since I bought the team. So I negotiated Herschel Walker.
What Jerry still fails to understand is the fact that he, like, even though he's the general manager, you're talking to the general managers talk to their players' representatives to work out deals. There are players, for example, the Lamar Jackson situation where his mother is obviously his agent, and basically they did the deal, I think, together. there are situations where Jerry's form of negotiating is acceptable. I think the CeeDee Lamb and the Dak Prescott deal was somewhat in a similar situation. However, Micah, being who Micah is, being a public face, a public figure outside of football with the podcast, with the things that he's trying to do, being a voice not just for the Dallas Cowboys but in other fields as well. He's acting like a businessman and he's trying to like negotiate for himself. That's just my thoughts. Let's continue to hear Jerry's thoughts here.
I negotiate all the contracts.
That's
Okay. Do I have a lot of help? Do I have plenty of fabulous help to go do it? But that is my job. That's different than the owner. Okay. And if for 1 second, if I had not thought that Micah had within the phone right there, step in the bathroom, go anywhere you want to go, or leave and talk to him, could not have his attorneys. Hope he's got 3 of them. And I hope he's got 3 agents. And I'm not trying to, I know I sound condescending, but I'm not trying to be. There is no question that he had people to advise him. And these things, these contracts are that long. The reason I'm taking this position is what's not in the contract. And that's where in years to come, when you're laying a couple $100 million on somebody, when you're doing that, you want to understand. Now that's different than the rest of the guys on the team. Okay? Now that guy right there needs a leadership role. Micah could be one of the best leaders ever. Could be one of the best leaders. But guess what? Other stuff happens along the way. Always does. Always does. Guess who's there? Guess who is there? Wanting to be there, if no other reason, to protect my relationship, protect the Cowboys and what have you. But as that document said, I mean, I'm there. I'm there with district attorneys. I'm there with all the other guys. That's why I want to do it, and that's why we want to. Michael came in from Saudi Arabia. Called me from Saudi Arabia. Coming in.
Michael Irvin.
Micah
Parsons. Got it.
Coming in, want to talk. Now, he says he didn't want to talk necessarily about a negotiation, but he wanted to talk. Okay. Jerry, can I have your cell number? I don't ever give anybody my cell number.
That is true.
I want to give you my cell number. We negotiate. We go back and forth. We come through. We go the next day. We negotiate. Get it all done. I get a call. I don't want you to call me anymore. Micah, don't call me anymore.
He said
so
that
we
to
haven't
you.
called.
Micah Parsons said to you, I don't want you to call me anymore.
Don't call me anymore. Don't call me anymore.
After calling you,
that's correct.
And igniting a negotiation, he turned around and exchanged your numbers and negotiated. And then he called you back and said, don't call, I don't want you to call me anymore.
The agent calls. He says, we need to start a negotiation with Micah. Guy says, well, we have negotiated. We'll send you over the deal. Proverbially, just keep it. I won't tell you where to put it, but just keep it. We're going to start a negotiation. Okay? We've had the negotiation, period.
Jerry, somebody picking up the phone and calling you, negotiating with you. And Micah's a brilliant brother. He's smart. I certainly didn't mean to cast any kind of come across.
And by the way, it's not a signed contract, which makes it no contract.
Understood that. I'm certainly not trying to dilute or minimize his intellect by any stretch of the imagination, what he's capable of. I'm simply pointing to you. I'm saying I get where you're coming from. But Jerry, you are a billionaire. I understand the GM. I'm talking to the GM, not just the owner. But considering your extensive experience negotiating over the years, what about a pass? What about he's 25, he's 26, he made a mistake. All right, I'll talk to his agent because he is an elite player for us. He's going to help us win football games. What about that thought process?
Stephen A., can you look across the first field and look out at the red border? That would be the Thailand.
Yes, I'm looking at it.
I stood there on our last day of mini camps talking with Micah. Have your agent call me. Have your agent call me, yes. Have your agent call me. Have your agent call me. Have your agent call me. Okay. My point is, in the spirit of not doing the old mother-dad deal. How many times have you seen the little rascal so clever go in there and mama told him, you're not going to get it. And goes in to daddy, who only sees him after 5 in the afternoon, wants to love him, and says, you can have it, son. You can have that before dinner. And he goes back in and says, Mama, Daddy said I could have it. That's the old mom, dad, been around since the beginning of time. I'm not going to go for that shit here. That's what's happening.
You're not going for it?
I'm not going for it. No.
Does that mean?
No, I'm just sitting down, and what I've said, I've asked people to come in and sit down and work through it. But we've had a very, very strong negotiation. Now, by the way, frankly, it wouldn't have made any difference what the negotiation was. Guess who has to be comfortable for this to work?
Micah.
And who else?
You.
Hello. There's not room for a third. There's not room for a third. This will be a good one. This will be a good one.
Are you willing? Not that you have to, because like you said, you got him under contract for the next 3 years.
Thank you. That's all you need to say.
Yeah, but wait a minute. No, Jerry, because he has asked to be traded. How did that hit you? Based on what you just articulated in terms of a conversation you had with him. Okay, he called you. You didn't call him. You exchanged numbers. Then he turns around and tells you, according to you, don't call me anymore, call my representation. And then, in the aftermath of all of that, he's asking for a trade. How are you feeling at that particular moment? I know you said it's just business. It's a negotiation. But how are you feeling when you heard the news that he demanded or he asked to be traded.
Well, first of all, let's go to the personal aspect of it. I sat with Micah one of the few times that I've done that with a player. I sat with Micah at the Super Bowl, and I sat with him at the Big 12 championship game, he and his family, and we have that kind of relationship. I mean, I feel very comfortable about Micah, the person involved. I feel very, very comfortable about that. So how do I feel about it? How I feel about it is that there takes two to tango here, not three. There takes two. And we can sit down. It's completely ludicrous. You can have papers that high going through, and add two more to his agency, and we'll add one more to the attorneys and go through the detail of a contract. That's BS about you've got to have somebody to do the paperwork and what have you. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Generally, somebody else looks at the paperwork.
I agree with what you're saying, Jerry. If you and Mike are of the same accord, if he is of the mindset that he feels his representation needs to be there with him because that's where his comfort level lies, I don't see anything wrong with that either because that's the way it goes in this day and age with players and representatives.
Thank you. Let me tell you the way it goes too this day and age. Dak came in 3 years ago, and wanted to redo an existing contract. We didn't get it done, and he played under the contract that he had. And then we tried again, and we didn't get it done, and he played under the contract he had. That's the way it goes. That is the way it goes. Yeah. And that's what happened. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't have any order in any of this stuff around the league. So my position is real clear. Now, what am I doing? You hit on something a minute ago. You said, well, Jerry, all your money, all of that kind of stuff, and what have you. This isn't my money. This is the team's money. This is the money that goes to building the team. Every team in the NFL gets a certain amount of money and a certain way to pay it out over the years. Everybody has the same. It is very competitive on who does it better there, just like blocking and tackling, the one that does it the best. And the ones that can get Micah, the greatest supporting cast around him, that's the ones that will end up having the most success. That's what's going on here. It's not about me begrudging Micah getting $1 that I'm coming out. I don't think anybody misunderstands that. No. I'm sitting here trying to put the team and keep the team in the way that we see is the best way to put it on the field. Now, we need Micah to win. We do need.
Do you feel that way?
Well, of course I do.
Okay.
Of course, I do feel like that. We need him to win, and I'm confident we'll have Micah to win. I can't imagine anybody sitting out for 3 years at all for that kind of go.
So is that
I will say this: we sure need to do a good job here. I do. We do. The Cowboys and the terms that we get Micah and the other players to play.
Let me put you on the spot. Are you saying that Micah needs to be willing to sit out for the next 3 years before he wears another uniform other than the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, let me say this, because we passed on that right there. As you well know, an existing player on a team, if somebody is talking to him or his, that is a tremendous violation. And you can get a lot of draft picks if somebody should happen to be talking about that. Other than me, other than an assignee of mine, or other than me, any talk of trading is BS. There's nothing to it. It's just nothing to it because everybody knows that you're not going to play for 3 years. Everybody knows that. That's not going to happen. And everybody knows that Micah's a key ingredient for it. Key ingredient. Does this sound familiar to you? How about Emmitt Smith?
You know where I'm going with that.
I saw it in your eyes.
You know that. You know how I am. Now, this man, no, I'm glad you brought that up. Let me remind the audience about you and Emmitt Smith. This man won the first Super Bowl championship for you in 92. 93, he's the leading rusher in the league with over 1,700 yards. He's leading the league in touchdowns. He was third in league MVP voting. And you still made him miss the first 2 games because you couldn't reach a contract accord with him. You missed only 2 before you ultimately signed it because Jimmy Johnson was losing his mind, and then you brought him, and then obviously you repeated the Super Bowl champions. We go back to that.
Well, can we keep going with that, though?
You want to
in the way you're doing it. Wait, don't just say it, that low-tone stuff. I want that Stephen A. stuff. Well, he missed 2 games, but then you rolled out there in front of millions of people and won the Super Bowl. Finish it up.
You won the Super Bowl, but
be fair with your viewers.
I am going to be fair with my viewers by saying this, Jerry Jones. Emmitt Smith, to this day, at that time, the contract was 4 years, $13.6 million, which was a record contract for a running back in the National Football League. You gave him those dollars, but he had to miss the first 2 games after winning the Super Bowl in order to pull it off.
Do you agree that he wanted more? Do you agree that he wanted more than that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What I'm trying to say is, do you agree that he wanted more than that? And to his credit, by the way, Emmitt Smith and I are business partners. Yes. We do business together. Yes. And I can't tell you how much I think of him and the way to go. But Emmitt, who, my goodness, he defined it. When he stepped back, we started winning. Before we had him, we weren't winning. Before we had him, that season, step back. But candidly, the dream was to have quarterback dollars and be the highest paid quarterback.
That's fair.
And so we had to get our thinking right so that we would be highest paid running back, not highest paid X. Okay. I'm sure if this had been at that time, you'd have been saying, but Jerry, you should pay him like the highest paid player in the NFL.
No, I would have said highest paid running back. I wouldn't have done that to you. I wouldn't have done that to you, Jerry. I would have said the highest paid running back, not the highest paid everything. No, I wouldn't have given that.
No, but I'm saying that with all due respect to everybody concerned. Let me tell you this. Everybody's family supporting them. Everybody should want, this is America, everybody should want to have the best, the maximum. Because when you're at a spot of demand, that probably doesn't come along again. So everybody should want that. Anybody that has had a chance to do what I've had to do is one of the biggest proponents of getting paid of anybody you've ever seen. I believe it through and through.
You also talked about how hard it was for you to pay primetime Deion Sanders, how you had to walk around and pace around a little bit before you cut that check to get that man here. I remember that story. And you had the money, but it was killing you to give it to him, but you ultimately had to, right?
I've got to say this, just because it meant that much. That's about a 30 or 40-minute flight where I grew up from Dallas. And Deion was paid $13 million bonus. Well, about 5 years earlier, all I had was 12. Now you say all you had was 12, but this idiot gave it to buy the Dallas Cowboys at that time. Here I was going to pay him 13 bonus, Deion Sanders. I got Michael first, and I said, this is what we're going to pay him. You good? He said, Deion Sanders, pay the man, pay him. Then I turned around with Troy and Emmett, and then I took it to the entire team and showed them exactly what we were paying him. Do we want him at the time? But then I took and flew back over to my home. And I walked down that old street, saw those old cracks, the same ones I'd seen when a quarter was everything and a crack in the deal, saw the old tree that I chopped myself a bark off of it. I thought I had lost my way. I've gotten out of perspective on financial. And then I turned around, went back, saw the same guy sitting on the porch that might have been sitting there when I was a kid and coming down the deal. I looked at that old house I lived in, I said, that was then, this is now. We're going for it. We're going for it. And yes, you're right. I did pay Deion more than anybody had ever paid at that time. And I'll do it to win.
And you'll do
I
it
will do it to win. What you're doing though, now is you're doing it, which is common. When one gets it in the NFL player, it's dollars his teammate does not get. Do we agree on that?
We do agree on that.
Okay, there is a limit as to what you can pay. Should I to be doing my job, not win the award on getting the contract signed, I should be winning the award on trying to get it balanced so we can have all the players that we can afford. Okay, great players, yes, but more importantly, how about putting some players out there that can win a Super Bowl?
That's a pretty damn hard argument to make when you're paying Dak Prescott $60 million.
There you go. But last year you were talking, or I don't know if you were or not, to be fair to you. But my point is, if everybody becomes the highest.
Right.
That was a straight shot at Dak. I love that. That was fucking excellent. Stephen A. Smith in 1.5 speed is just tremendous. Like I can understand him, but like his speed, like he is just a fast talker. Jerry Jones, another one. Honestly, Jerry Jones, master of the tongue. He says a lot of BS and says a lot of nothing. Literally, he's just dancing around the Micah Parsons situation to make it seem like it's mainly on Micah, but in reality, Micah's just going about business, how the business is supposed to be gone about. Jerry is just referring to his triplets, because he loves his triplets. Michael, we'll talk about what I saw in the documentary, but Michael Irvin, business partner, Emmitt Smith, business partner. I think even Troy Aikman, in some way or form or fashion, is involved with Jerry Jones' businesses as well. So that's what, like, Jerry, when he goes and he talks about, like, oh, Micah should go and talk to these players, does not understand that it's, let's be honest, people my age, they're very conceited and they're very in their heads, right? So they think they know better. Like, a lot of people my age think they know better and will not go and seek advice from, like, people that are wiser and probably know more. Even with things being like that, I still think the way the business is ran right now in the NFL is very different. Let's get back to this.
Then all of a sudden you've got to have a less of those players, okay, or more. And so you have to think about, boy, that amount of, don't forget, well, it's Micah, any player. Could that get you 3 Pro Bowlers for that player? Well, you know what the odds of having the 3 available, having 2 of the 3 available for a year or 2? You know what the odds when you pay that money and that you could not have them available, and then the team, nobody would be getting the money. Happened to us last year with Dak Prescott. A couple of weeks after we did it, and we didn't have him for the year. That stuff happens. That stuff is, in a way, you've got to think about that when you're putting your team together.
So is that a way of saying it's worth thinking about the possibility that, I mean, Micah Parsons, because I consider him the face of the franchise. I consider him your best player. I'm not going to lie to you. That's how I look at him. I don't know how you look at him, so maybe I should ask that question first. How do you view Micah Parsons? I know you think he's a great player and very, very important. I consider him the face of the franchise. What do you say to that?
I'm glad that you recognize that. We got him for 3 years no matter what.
He's not going anywhere.
Exactly.
Somebody come to you and offer you a couple of first-round picks, a couple of all-pro players.
Best player along. Shake my hand again. We got him. And we got him for 3 more years.
Somebody comes along with a couple of Pro Bowls and a couple of first-round picks, Jerry. What you
I'm not here, no. I got this thing, static coming in here somewhere. I'm getting overrun here.
I'm just asking. I want to make sure that nobody has to worry about Micah Parsons going anywhere, because that's how much you value.
Just know this. I'm so proud since you think that much of him. Yes. Please say it often, because we do have him, and we're proud of having him.
You said you're the GM when you're negotiating, and it's not the owner. Were you the GM when you negotiated Dak Prescott's contract, CeeDee Lamb's contract?
Yes.
Folks look at that and they said, had you signed them earlier, Jerry, you saved yourself anywhere from $17 to $30 million, and the very thing that you're aiming to do in terms of building a squad Jerry Jones' stubbornness has gotten his own way because he's waited too long to sign these dudes that he knew he was going to sign all along. How do you respond to that?
Jerry Jones is smarting for some of the ones that I signed too early and didn't see how it was going to pan out talent-wise or injury-wise. And so one too early signing can wipe out one, if you signed it too early and bet wrong, that can wipe out waiting on 2 or 3. So the best thing to do is be the option quarterback and play it out to the end of the line, and then maybe not pitch the ball then, either play action and drop back and throw it, or basically pitch it then at that time. I do like to go out to the end, but that's kind of a personal characteristic.
That's a personal characteristic, but does it work in the National Football League, particularly when a team like the Eagles, the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, operate differently? The Chiefs might operate a little bit differently. The Patriots historically might have operated a little bit differently, and it's worked for them because there's Super Bowl titles to point to in recent memory, whereas that has not been the case for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, we've been dealing with salary caps for a long time now. My first 4 or 5 years, you didn't have one, but we've been dealing for caps for a long time. And like I told you, while I'm not in any way anything but disappointed we haven't been to a Super Bowl in almost 30 or whatever the time is. I don't even want to think about it, so to speak. But the point is, we haven't been to a Super Bowl. The point is, the same thing is alive and well in this cat that got us to those other 3 Super Bowls as to whatever contribution I made for that to happen. It's alive and well with what I do everywhere. It's how I operate. And I've had some nubs drawn back the way I operate, but then I've had some successes. And so I'm not going to question the instincts. What you do need to know is I will change. In terms of I do change on things, because if you don't change the mirror, then
you're going to change. How you going to change?
I do change.
I'm just asking. I'm just asking. I need you to tell me how you think you're going to change. I got to hear this.
If the porch has lost a step, I won't step on that lost step but about twice before I realize that I need to jump over it rather than go over it. Okay. If you work for yourself and you're not willing to change, then who's to change? So yeah, that's the practice you have when you're self-employed.
Let me get specific about another player, Dak Prescott. Is he the answer? Is he the man that can deliver you a Super Bowl championship? I'm counting 2 playoff victories in entering his 10th year, Jerry. That's what I'm counting.
Not only that, I have my actions to prove it. That's what all the deliberation was about for a 2 or 3 year period when we were working through whether to have an extended 3rd contract, first being when he was drafted. And that's what it was all about, to see, and we got another year to look and see about Dak, see about his availability, see about his how he is progressing. And that's what we got to do. And so we got to see, although yes, if you said that, you paid Dak more than if you could have rolled that same negotiation back. But we had the opportunity, and he'll be the first to tell you. And by the way, it does take 2 here now, not just 1. It takes us and it takes the player to agree. But we did this, perfect example, with Dak. We couldn't come to an agreement. He plays. In the meantime, we saw him another year, his 7th year, his 8th year. Boy, we see him doing things, continuing to improve. And that Dak Prescott has continued to improve. We see the age factor, which you may imply availability, injury, that type of thing. But we watched it. So you can rest assured that with all of any warts or all of anything you can think about, when I made him the highest paid player in the history of the NFL, that I thought he was the guy that gave us the best shot to win.
I know what you thought.
It would have been madness.
I know what you thought. But I'm asking you what you think now, because he not only signed a $160 million deal, then he came back and signed a $240 million deal. The brother signed for over $400 million. Jerry Jones has signed those contracts for him, and you don't have but 2 playoff victories to show for that. I'm wondering how you're looking at him today compared to how you looked at him before you signed those contracts.
Well, let's say this. Contracts, just say, roll the clock forward to this time last year. So how am I looking at him today as opposed to this time last year? Because we both know what I was thinking this time last year.
He was in the regular season.
He could take it, but it could come that he can take us to a Super Bowl. I think he can take us to a Super Bowl, and I feel strongly about that. But I had to look at it, and I had to think about it over the years, just as he had to think about whether he was going to sign with us a long-term extension. But we had to look at it, evaluate it. I finally said, look, Dak, we're getting the benefit of his experience. We're getting the benefit of his leadership, which, my goodness, is off the charts. But we're getting all of those benefits as opposed to going out here and starting new or starting with someone else at the spot. And that's why I did it. We didn't do it the year before because we couldn't come together. Sound familiar? Micah.
Yes.
Okay, we're having a tough time getting together. Okay, so did Dak not play? No, we played. And so the point is, has a contract to play. We'll go at it again sometime in the future if that's the case.
George Pickens is here now. You got CeeDee Lamb, your wideouts, 2 elite wideouts as far as I'm concerned, with that.
So, basically, Jerry Jones is doing what Jerry Jones does best, and that's sugarcoating the fact that Dak is not. He made a mistake paying Dak. Dak is not the quarterback that will lead the Dallas Cowboys to a Super Bowl. I'm sorry, we all know this. We've seen how he performs in big playoff games. We've seen what he's done with the breadth of talent around him in an elite level offensive line. Number 1 seed squandered. Dak has had the best opportunity to do something with that Dallas Cowboys team, and he has never delivered. I'm just being honest. When it comes to the Micah situation, it looks like Jerry has dug in his heels in the fact that he has him for this year. He can franchise tag him for another 2 years and make him, I think, like the highest paid position player other than quarterback when he gets into that second franchise tag year. With that being said, though, I do think they are going to come to a deal hours before the Week 1 game because that's just Jerry Jones's style. I think the agent or Jerry will reach out to one another. Deal will be struck. Things will be signed, and Micah Parsons will be a Dallas Cowboy for the next at least 4 years with all as much guarantees as I guess he wants. Jerry's still, though, master of saying absolutely nothing. Master of saying absolutely nothing. The art of the deal. Man, hey, I think Jerry's biggest thing is manifesting things into existence because honestly, like, which actually, perfect time to transition into, actually, my thoughts on the Netflix documentary series on America's team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, where there's a segment or there's a scene in that docu-series where he's talking about his father, and basically his father called him after he purchased the Dallas Cowboys, and he tells him, he tells him something along the lines, son, you got to keep this thing put together with sticks and stones to make it look real, even if it's not. Because if it's not, then everybody's going to come after you, and like it's just going to be hell on earth, right? But if you continue to make it, maybe eventually it'll become real. And that's essentially how Jerry Jones became who Jerry Jones is for the Dallas Cowboys. He was literally holding it up with sticks and stones to begin with, not necessarily having all the money that he necessarily needed to build a team the way he needed it to be built. Michael Irvin, it was already kind of foreseen that Michael Irvin was going to be a Dallas Cowboy, and then he knew that Jimmy Johnson was going to be there. Guys, actually, that docu-series, really quickly, going into like towards the end of the docu-series when we get in the era after we get the Cowboys' dynasty run, I think the year after when we get the Michael Irvin trial, I didn't know any of that actually had happened to Michael Irvin. I didn't do any research like on Michael Irvin's past. I just knew he was the Dallas Cowboy number 88, Super Bowl champion, 3-time Super Bowl. I didn't realize there was a video of like him doing like coke in the front of a fucking car, and then there was a whole trial and everything. That was eye-opening to me. And they do an excellent job covering everything, the relationship between the triplets, how they felt during the dynasty, how they felt when they got rid of Jimmy. Barry Switzer basically coming in and being kind of like the polar opposite, and his relationship with Jerry Jones. And then finally also seeing the inauguration. They really do an excellent job in this documentary covering the Dallas Cowboys. You get to see Jerry's world, and Jerry does an excellent job telling you his story, right? Jerry's just, we all know who Jerry is. Jerry's just Jerry, and Jerry is a master on the microphone. Like, it's weird for me to see Jerry in his early days when he first purchased the team and wasn't in front of a camera as much, because when Jerry got on the mic, he was so scared. He didn't have the demeanor or the personality. Now he just loves it. He embraces it. He dominates it, and he says a bunch of nothing, absolute garbage. And we all eat it up, we all put it in our headlines, and we all follow. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back after these messages with our breakdown on the ESPN dropping the Colin Kaepernick documentary series that was supposed to be produced or directed. I think it was directed and produced by Spike Lee. We'll be right back after this.
Guys, have you heard? Nelson, tell the people.
Shady Mob Productions is an official affiliate of HBO Max.
Click on the link in the description and sign up so you can watch hit series like Hard Knocks, Game of Thrones, and House of Dragons.
Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
You're watching the latest episode of N1 from the End Zone. Please click on that subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops. Now, let's kick it.
Guys, join me, Alex the Man Angelov, and check out A&A Radio, where we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest financial news, investments, banking, and personal finance. Check out the channel and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
If you're in the San Francisco Bay Area and want the best cut of your life, go check out Headspins Barbershop, located in South San Francisco, the official barbershop of N1 from the End Zone.
Guys, you're watching a Shady Mob production. Make sure to follow the Shady Mob podcast, where we break down all the latest content and talk about life. Please make sure to share, like, comment, and subscribe so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, where we are going to be breaking down this article written by Deadline, where they talk about ESPN dropping a Spike Lee's produced and directed document series on Colin Kaepernick over creative differences. And I'm actually going to give you my actual thoughts on everything, especially with the timing of certain events that have happened here in the last few weeks. Now, let's start it off. So, Incomplete Pass, ESPN and Spike Lee drop his Colin Kaepernick documentary series over creative differences. An article written by Matthew Carey. ESPN has confirmed it's scrapping Spike Lee's planned documentary series on ex-NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick, saying it's by mutual agreement with the Oscar-winning filmmaker and Kaepernick. ESPN, Colin Kaepernick, and Spike Lee have collectively decided to no longer proceed with this project as a result of certain creative differences, the sports giant said in a statement provided to Deadline. Despite not reaching finality, we appreciate all the hard work and collaboration that went into this film. The series was to have chronicled Kaepernick's career with San Francisco 49ers, which came to an end in 2016 after the quarterback began kneeling during the playing of the national anthem before games to protest racial injustice in America. The 49ers indicated they would release Kaepernick at the end of that season. He has been unable to sign with any other team since 2019. He reached a confidential settlement with the NFL after filing a grievance that accused the league of colluding to help him to keep him off the field. Now, when Colin started doing that with the San Francisco 49ers, I felt like that kind of split the locker room, not necessarily on the political issues, but it split them from the coaching, from Jim Harbaugh, and essentially, I think it might have been Chip Kelly. But their focus wasn't on the team at that point. Their focus was on all the exterior stuff that was going on with Colin, right? And the best thing for the Niners to do at that point was cut Colin Kaepernick. Which I honestly, like, even though he helped get our team to the Super Bowl, I was never genuinely a fan of Kaepernick because of his style of play, and I just didn't see it. I would have preferred to have had Alex Smith, and it's not a race thing. It's literally because I thought Alex Smith under Jim Harbaugh had developed into being the quarterback that he could have that he was. Alex Smith got us to the NFC Championship on a couple of occasions. Yes, Colin Kaepernick got us over the hump, but I just didn't think his vision and his IQ in the game had developed to a point where he was able to read certain plays. He was never fully accurate. Like he was literally a dual threat quarterback. He had a cannon of an arm and he could run, and that's what made him versatile, especially for a head coach like Jim Harbaugh, who loves to ground and pound the ball, even though he has a stellar and elite quarterback in Justin Herbert. Let's continue this article. As Deadline's Dominic Patton reported in 2022, Lee was to have produced the QBCK project with ESPN Films through his 40 Acres and Mule Film Works. Kaepernick and Atlantic journalist Jameel Hill also were producing. Kaepernick hailed the project at the time as part of a larger deal he signed with ESPN owner Disney, saying, "I look forward to sharing the docu-series on my life story, in addition with many other culturally impactful projects we are developing." Reuters first reported the demise of the Spike Lee series. The news agency spoke with Lee on the red carpet for an event in Beverly Hills over the weekend where he said of the series, "It's not coming out. That's all I can say." We contacted Lee's camp, who tells us the filmmaker won't be making any further comment on the matter. It's unclear whether he may attempt to resurrect the project at a streamer or another distribution platform. His team did not respond to a request for clarification on the score. Ooh. See, now we're going to get to the good stuff. Puck's Matthew Belloni previously reported the creative differences had to do with the scope of the multi-parter and whether it would stay tightly focused on Kaepernick or expand to include the experience of other black athletes in professional sports who have spoken out on social justice issues. One thinks of Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Arthur Ashe, the WNBA's Natasha Cloud, and others. Now, we also see this little ESPN NFL split. The reason for that, and we'll probably read it right here, is because NFL now owns 10%, I believe, of ESPN. The revelation of the drop project raises eyebrows, coming less than 2 weeks after ESPN struck a deal to buy the NFL Network linear distribution of the Red Zone channel and rights to NFL Fantasy. In exchange, the NFL would acquire 10% stake in ESPN in a transaction subject to league and other regulatory approval. Deadline understands, however, that the decision to abandon the Kaepernick docuseries was made last summer. Oh, that's a little interesting twist. I didn't know that. What's up, Uncle Charles from Birmingham? Oh. This is the second time this year a prominent documentary series has been dropped a distributing sign for nonfiction filmmakers. In February, Netflix revealed it was dumping a 6-part documentary series on Prince, directed by Oscar-winning Ezra Edelman, after the musician estate objected to the filmmaker's take on his life story. Instead, Netflix and Prince estate announced they had come to a mutual agreement that will allow the estate to develop and produce a new documentary featuring exclusive content from Prince's archives. Okay, so I thought it was because of the new Netflix ESPN deal that kind of occurred. Also, you got to take into account that this ESPN NFL deal has probably been talked about for longer than just the last 3 or 4 months or this year. This probably has gone back for a long time, probably since last year, because deals this major, ESPN bought the rights to the NFL Network and like all of its distribution, right? They're going to have all of the NFL Network's content on ESPN's new direct-to-consumer $29.99 a month subscription, where you can also now start watching WWE premium live events, because they are now going exclusively to ESPN starting literally after Clash, because of the fact that fuck it, why not, right? It seems like they might be keeping other WWE content on Peacock, or I think they're going to move their entire library and just leave Saturday Night Main Event on Peacock as the one thing that they keep, and then everything is just going to be on ESPN. So guys, if in UFC, their content, their shows, the Contender Series, Ultimate Fighter, that stuff is still staying on the ESPN direct-to-consumer platform. The only thing that's moving to Paramount is now the pay-per-views, which is completely going away. Now it's basically going to do what WWE did with Peacock, where it became premium live events. That's what basically UFC is going to do. But all the content, TKO and that partnership with ESPN, I think don't quote me on this. Eventually, I think there's going to be some sort of merger between TKO and Disney. I see Disney eventually owning WWE, especially now that I see a lot of UFC references, or not UFC, Marvel references in the WWE. Just saying. So ESPN be fucking, not ESPN, but Disney be conquering all at this point. I think they even opened like Fox Sports, if I'm not mistaken, or I think they just took Fox's like movie stuff, right? But no, this series being canceled, I'm kind of surprised. Maybe it's because times have kind of changed where there are other social justice issues that are being talked about, and there are other people at the forefront discussing those issues, and I'm not going to discuss those issues here because this is a sports channel and I'm not comfortable talking about something that I really haven't done a lot of research in. But I feel like Colin Kaepernick not being in the spotlight as prominently as he once was, and I think because there's already been a few like documentary series that document his life, that's part of the reason why they canceled this series, because this would be like the third or fourth one, to be completely honest with you. And you can only milk, like, no offense, but you can only milk your life story so much, right? At least that's my thought. Honestly, I think I would have been excited for that Prince docu-series, to be completely honest. I love music. Music is great. I'm a Michael Jackson fan over Prince, though. Just saying. Prince got amazing music. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this situation? Would you guys have actually wanted to watch the Colin Kaepernick documentary series produced by Spike Lee? Spike Lee does amazing work. And also, I don't fully think it's completely dead. I genuinely think there's a chance they might revive it. They might go to another streaming platform, or fuck it, YouTube. Like, there's a way you can monetize the documentary series on YouTube, or you could just literally go directly to YouTube and shoot it for them. If this is something you're really passionate about, because we know Spike Lee is, I think he's an activist. I don't want to say something he's not, but Colin is an activist. If this is something that's true to your heart, you think is going to have an impact, fuck it. Just make it in a way where it's not as high budget, and get it so it communicates the message that you want to communicate, right? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back with my take on the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation after these messages.
Guys, have you heard? Nelson, tell the people.
Shady Mob Productions is an official affiliate of HBO Max. Click on the link in the description and sign up so you can watch hit series like Hard Knocks, Game of Thrones, and House of Dragons.
Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
You're watching the latest episode of N1 from the End Zone. Please click on that subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops. Now, let's kick it.
Guys, join me, Alex the Man Angelov, and check out A&A Radio, where we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest financial news, investments, banking, and personal finance. Check out the channel and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
If you're in the San Francisco Bay Area and want the best cut of your life, go check out Headspins Barbershop, located in South San Francisco, the official barbershop of N1 from the End Zone.
Guys, you're watching a Shady Mob production. Make sure to follow the Shady Mob podcast, where we break down all the latest content and talk about life. Please make sure to share, like, comment, and subscribe so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with my thoughts on the Cleveland Brown quarterback situation. Joe Flacco playing his first and only preseason game, and honestly looking pretty damn good out there, to be completely honest with you. Browns winning 19-16 ultimately, with Snoop Tyler Huntley driving the team down for the game-winning field goal. Shador, Mr. Sanders, the Rams playing the Los Angeles Rams, who, in my honest opinion, they are in a competitive rebuild because they are in certain areas in their defense now that Aaron Donald has retired. Jalen Ramsey is gone. Cooper Kupp is gone. You got Puka Nacua. Like, you got Kyron Williams. They're developing their players in L.A. They're in a rebuild, but because they have a competent quarterback in Matthew Stafford, an amazing head coach in Sean McVay, and a great GM in Les Snead, because their draft picks they hit. And this is coming from a San Francisco fucking 49er fan, and I fucking hate the Rams. I can't stress how much I hate the Rams, but I got to give them their fucking due, because they've been able to do something we haven't been able to do since 94, and that's win a goddamn Super Bowl in my lifetime. God damn it. But they're deep. That's the thing about the Rams. They're deep. So even their third, fourth string players, they're competitive. They could be second, maybe starters on other teams, because that's how great the Rams draft. That's how smart Les Snead is with his moves. Okay? That's why when he faced, in my opinion, the Carolina Panthers, he lit them motherfuckers up. Because their third or fourth stringers are legitimately like third or fourth stringers, or wouldn't even be on other teams' rosters, to be completely honest with you. That's why Shedeur had an amazing performance out there. He also didn't face the first or second, like the first or second team. He faced the third or fourth stringers in week 1 of the preseason, guys. Come on. Let's be honest. He looked great. But then this week, when teams are starting to ramp up, maybe you're not doing like everything you're going to be doing in the regular season in this preseason game, but you're doing something to get ready for the regular season, right? Shedeur went out there 5 times. Okay? All of them ended in punts. He got sacked 5 times. I think he was 3 of 6. 3 of 6. Actually, let me pull up the stats real quick. I'm sorry. The one thing I will say, because I do remember this, Dillon Gabriel only drove the ball twice. Got a field goal, got a touchdown. I've been saying this the entire time, and I'm not a Dillon Gabriel supporter. I don't even know if he's going to be a great starting quarterback. I thought Shedeur Sanders was being overhyped because of his last name. He was a 3rd or 4th round quarterback who became a 3rd or 4th round quarterback in his 2 years at Colorado, because his time at Jackson State, he wasn't playing that level of competition that he needed. And even when he stepped up with Travis Hunter coming out due to injury, he didn't perform that well. Or at least I didn't think he performed admirably enough to be warranted a 1st or 2nd round pick. I thought he was a 3rd or 4th round pick who could develop. And you can look at my older videos, because I'm not a Shedeur hater. I genuinely think he needs to sit for a year or 2 and develop. He will be a great player. He can be a great player. I think he has the athleticism, the legs, because you need to have the movement and the ability to run in the modern NFL. Shedeur has that, and he has an arm. He just needs time to develop and learn the game at an NFL level, at a pro level. And he's not going to be able to do that if he gets thrusted into a team as their 2nd string quarterback. If Joe Flacco goes out. There's a reason why they drafted Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel in college, I think he played 4 years at Oregon, if I'm not mistaken. But if it wasn't 4 years at Oregon, he played at least, I think, 2, and then 2 at another, like, I think it was Arizona. But I'm sorry, my Dillon Gabriel knowledge is not that great, but he played top-tier college football, D1 NCAA football for 4 years. He developed. For 4 years, yes, I get it. He's small. I'm not saying he's going to be a great quarterback, but he is more NFL ready right now than Shedeur is. And we saw that in this game against the Rams, where every time he went out there, it ended in a punt. He got sacked 5 times, and he didn't necessarily have time to analyze and make the throws that he needed to make. Things were sped up. Rams players are not Carolina Panthers players, guys. I'm sorry. Their third or fourth strings could be second, third, maybe even starters on other teams. They could be fucking starters on the Panthers because the Panthers are not that great. They're not that deep. I'm just being honest. And the best thing for Shedeur Sanders' career moving forward is letting him sit, watch tape, learn from Joe Flacco, learn from Dylan Gabriel, even though you guys are both from college and you may think you might have had a great last 2 years in Colorado, but Dylan Gabriel was at Oregon. He played phenomenal for Oregon. There's a reason why they had him elevated higher. And I hate to say it, if the draft stuff, and it keeps getting confirmed that it's come out that it's true, like he had an attitude issue. Guys, come on. Like, you're supposed to be a quarterback. Now, the Sanders that I think we all need to be paying attention to is Shiloh. Shiloh is literally Deion 2.0, or at least I think he can be Deion 2.0. I understand he's not a cornerback, he's a safety. However, he's got the genetics. He learned the game from his father, who is the greatest DB in all of history. And yes, I understand his college career might have not been fucking great. He wasn't meant to play in college. He was meant for the NFL. He's NFL ready. He has NFL knowledge. And I think Shiloh is going to end up being a Hall of Fame player. I think both Sanders kids have a great opportunity, and I'm like 2 years older than them. I think both are going to do great. I just think Shedeur needs time to develop, mature, and get the right opportunity to be a starter and not be thrusted into the fucking Cleveland Browns organization, who don't even know what they're going to do with Deshaun Watson. And Shiloh is going to have an amazing career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he's starting this year, to be completely honest with you. And that's honestly great. Yeah. Let's actually talk about another quarterback situation. The Colts have actually named Daniel Jones their starting fucking quarterback over Anthony Richardson, who they drafted 4th overall 2 years ago. I get it. There's an accuracy issue there. But you're going with Daniel Jones, who in his NFL career, since he's been in the league, has been horrible. Horrible. He had one good year under Brian Daboll, got paid, and what did he do the 2 years following after that? Damn near cost him his job. Damn near cost him his job. Turned to Danny DeVito to intentionally tank just so they could draft Jackson Dart. And Jackson Dart has looked phenomenal in preseason. Brian Daboll might have saved his job thanks to Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Jackson Dart, who right now will probably be listed as either the backup or the third string quarterback. But once Russ comes out, it'll be Jackson Dart's time. But here the Colts are telling me Anthony Richardson isn't the answer. Daniel Jones is. I'm sorry. Daniel Jones is not going to win you games. Anthony Richardson, even with his shot accuracy, and I get it, he's injury prone, and he might not have, I understand the leadership aspects of things because he did pull himself out of a game because he was winded, he was tired, and you can't do that in the NFL. He's got a maturity issue, but he's young, he's learning, he's developing, and honestly, he wins. The Colts win with him. I don't know how they do it, but they win with him. I don't see teams winning with Daniel Jones, so I don't think they're going to win with Daniel Jones. And the fact that they chose him over the guy they drafted 4th to be the starter and say that, no, he is our starter for the entire season is ridiculous to me. They're doing literally the Zach Wilson thing. They're literally doing the Zach Wilson thing with the Colts. But that's just crazy. Daniel Jones is not Aaron Rodgers. And I pencil the Colts in to have the number 1 pick next year and pencil Arch Manning to be the next Colts starting quarterback next year when he gets drafted number 1. Oh, God, that'd be Hollywood. Now, the last NFL topic that I'm going to discuss is my San Francisco 49ers. Bang, bang, Niner gang. 650 Bay Area code. Acquiring Brian Robinson for a 6th-round pick and Sky Moore from the Kansas City Chiefs. I forget what the draft compensation was for the Chiefs, but I think it was either a 6th or a 7th-round pick. Because Sky Moore has not had a good last, 3 years. Actually, even when he got drafted, I don't think he had a stellar year. He's been waiting to take off, and I think Kyle, because of all the – obviously we needed Sky Moore because of all the injuries, but the Brian Robinson trade. He had 748 yards last year, if I'm not mistaken. He had 8 touchdowns. He can also catch the ball. Brian Robinson for a 6th-round pick? I understand he got shot. He survived. And he came out guns blazing. Okay. I've been pitching this for the last 2 goddamn years. We need a dual running back system because CMC is getting older. He can't take the hits. And I thought it was going to be CMC and Isaac Guerrero. However, Brian Robinson and CMC, you could damn near do 50-50, 60-40. Give CMC time to rest and recover. Put in another kid in Brian Robinson who can go pound the ball down your neck, be elusive, and catch the ball from the backfield. Guys, I understand we are depleted at wide receiver. I get it. I still believe Ricky Pearsall is going to develop and show why he's a number 1 pick. Or not, he was the first overall pick for the 49ers in last year's draft, not this year's. I still think Jacob Cowing, because of the amount of football that he's played in college, I understand college stats don't always translate, but because of the deep football knowledge and because he was a top 10, top 5 receiver in a lot of NCAA FCS stats, he's going to hit this year. I think he's going to hit this year. We need him to hit, especially with Brandon Ayuk being out till at least, I think, week 6. And I know Demarcus Robinson, he's out for 3 weeks, right? I get it. There's also Tariq Owens. However, the addition of Sky Moore, he's gonna probably be the 3 or the 4 once Brandon is healthy, and that gives him depth at wide receiver. I think he's just gonna average what he's been averaging his entire career with the Niners. Maybe he learns the playbook fast enough and he develops where he might have an impact. We need him to have an impact right now, but we'll see. He didn't look tremendous in his outing today for the 49ers. I think they targeted him 6 times for 19 yards. Targeted 6, caught 3 for 19 yards. Not great, not stellar, but again, he's playing with backups who are trying to make the team. We'll see what he does with Brock. I have faith that the Sky Moore trade is just a Band-Aid until we get healthy at wide receiver, but it gives us depth because we're deep at receiver. We just haven't matured at receiver. That's my take. We haven't matured. The only mature one we have is Juwan Jennings. But the Brian Robinson trade, that right there makes us deadly. Because we can have Ricky, Juwan, we have George, and we can have CMC and Brian in the back with Brock. And we got weapons and he can go anywhere. So I'm excited about that. With that being said, guys, we have reached the end of the latest episode of N1 from the End Zone with your favorite host, King N.P.V. Yeah, no, that's me, baby. Guys, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe to the channel so you can always be notified when the latest content drops. Always remember, desire is power. If you desire to be great, you have the power to be great. Thank you for watching the latest episode of N1 from the End Zone. I will actually be going live on Monday for Monday Night Raw. So stay tuned for that. And I will see y'all next time.